Even on our warming planet, there are reasons for hope.
We need to have the courage to try.
Lots more jobs created in the green economy.
Climate change is not the problem. Climate change is the expression of the problem.
The renewable energy technologies to fundamentally transform the energy system are at our disposal.
So how do we begin the process of reversing global warming?
Oh my God, the storm.
We need innovation, and this kind of
I'm really
innovation.
glad people are starting to buy electric cars and
Launched the largest tree plantation campaign.
It is now cheaper to build offshore wind farms.
To develop a climate-altering
By
crop.
continually reinvesting in our grassland, we are looking down.
It's a critical moment that we cannot not be part of.
Enormous opportunity in agriculture.
We can become stubborn optimists.
COP26 is one of the most important diplomatic gatherings in history.
But humanity already knows what to do.
We can't do it overnight, but we can set that end date.
We've got a long way to go.
But there is momentum.
Roll up your sleeves and do it.
Please welcome to the stage Global Head of Bloomberg Live, Patrick Garrigan, and Bloomberg Live Deputy Global Editor Malika Kapoor.
Hello and welcome to the Bloomberg Green Summit at COP. We're so pleased you can be with us. We do have an audience joining us from around the world virtually. Thank you for logging on. And those of you in the room, I can't even begin to tell you how excited we are to have a real live audience with us because, as you know, it has been a while. You're here because you want to accelerate climate action. We're here because we share your goal.
In a lot of ways, Bloomberg Green at COP26 brings to bear the best of Bloomberg. And our teams have been here across the past 2 weeks, leveraging a truly global newsroom, data and insights, and more ways for people to experience our work than anyone else in the world. And we do all of this because it's important in telling the story of climate change. We'll get started in just a minute, but first we want to acknowledge our founding partner, JLL, and our presenting sponsors for today, Dassault Systems and MSCI.
And I just have a couple of quick announcements so you can get the most of your experience and your time with us today. Those of you who are joining us virtually, if you run into any technical problems, we are there for you. You can, first of all, try to refresh your browser. Otherwise, you can use the chat box on the bottom right corner of your screen for support. Questions, we do hope you send us lots of questions. We want this to be as interactive as possible. Again, for our virtual audience, you can use the white tab on the right side of your video window to send in your questions. And those of you in the room with us, it's bgreen.live/ask. Do send in your questions and we'll pass them on to our moderators who will then present them to our guests. Social media, we are very active there and the hashtag is Bloomberg Green.
Okay, let's get started. With that, we begin in Asia, where our colleague Bloomberg Television's David Ingalls sat down with Laura Cha, chairman of the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. And here's their conversation.
Hi, everyone. So we're here, COP26. We find ourselves at a crossroads really as a species and really how to measure how far we've actually come. So the next couple of days, it's going to be about goal setting, measuring those goals, and really just getting a sense realistically of what is possible, what should be possible, and what we can do. So just to get a sense really from a business, from the markets, and just capitalism perspective here on how you really allocate capital. We're joined here by Laura Cha. She's the chair at Hong Kong Exchanges. So I guess let's start off by something very simple. COP26, what are your expectations?
I certainly hope that this time
there will not just be very vague agreement. We should have concrete plans and timeline. It is really time for action. Climate environment doesn't wait for us. And we have seen in the last years the disasters, the natural disaster, the increase in temperature, etc. We really have to have an action plan. I very much hope that COP26 will come up with some concrete plans.
Everyone seems to agree that there needs to be ambitious commitments.
Right.
What those commitments are, then you get disagreements between the countries.
Yes.
Especially, the sort of larger developing countries like India and China, for example, who are the biggest emitters as we speak.
Yes.
How do you think the world should divvy up commitments, especially when they look at Asia?
I think Asia is a complicated case because one, we have the largest population globally, and secondly, we have economies in different stages of development, and countries such as China, Japan, and South Korea have each made their commitment to reach net zero by 2060 in the case of China, 2050 in the case of Japan and South Korea. But some of the smaller and developing economies perhaps are unable to, at this stage, to make that commitment because of their development need. So I think there has to be, as we say, the term that has been commonly used, and I personally agree, is common but differentiated responsibilities. And that means that some of the countries, some of the economies might have a larger role, and they are able to do that, and there will have to be a multitude of different options and different timelines, but the goal has to be a uniform one, has to be on a united front. Everybody has to be in the game, and depending on one situation, the timeline might be slightly varied.
And certainly these things move in cycles. There's a longer-term cycle, there's a short-term cycle, and I guess going back to the earlier point, where is it fair to place the same burden, say, on Asia-Pacific developing economies on the, that people are placing on developing. A very good example, China has a target, but then now they're having to scramble to find coal because there's a power shortage.
Exactly.
Similar with India. What do you, how should we approach that dilemma?
Well, it's not easy, certainly, it's not just, we can't look at climate and, pollution and supply, etc., in a single facet. It also involved the livelihood, the alleviation of poverty. Some of these countries